Hi guys, this is Crossy of Eclipse Gaming TV and welcome to Crossy's Corner. I know I don't do these very often at all, and to be honest I felt like I just needed to get something up on the channel because there has been a real gap. Also testing out my new microphone, so let me know what you think of this. I don't think the quality is quite as good as the other one that I normally use, which is like a desktop USB thing, standalone mic. This one I've got now is a sort of a headset microphone, which are usually pretty naff from experience. But let me know what you think. If you prefer this one, then I'll start to use that one more often in other videos, but from the little bits of testing I've done, it doesn't seem quite as clear. But what I want to talk about today is something that sort of came to me I say a little while ago, yesterday actually, and a few ideas that I'd been kicking around, and I just wanted to talk about how self-confidence is such a big thing in both a gaming and a sporting context. I mean, if you are properly in the camp of eSports and claim that gaming really is a sport alongside the likes of football, just throwing loads of sports out there, then fair enough. And I think this might be a good example to sort of draw comparisons between the two and show that in a lot of ways on the psychological side they can be different. So I'm going to give you two examples from my own experience, from tennis and Counter-Strike, which are two sports, if you like, that I've played for around about 12-13 years. As far as Counter-Strike goes, if you've been watching the channel, then you probably know that my real background in it is in commentary, which is something I've done since sort of 2006, on and off. I have played fairly regularly in between that though. Work's got in the way, and sitting down and actually getting time to play and go to events and play tournaments and the like, my time for that is a little limited these days, but it is things that I have done in the past for a number of years. And yeah, once in a while I do get pulled back to play the odd LAN event or the like. So yeah, you could say I've played quite a lot of competitive Counter-Strike over the years. And tennis, much the same way. At the moment I'm injured, got a knackered shoulder, and I'm under physio orders not to play. But I'm a decent level club player. In a club of about 300 people, I'm probably in the top 50 players, something like that. So, to a good standard, but by no means any kind of standard that would get me remotely close to playing professionally. I'm just nowhere near that level, never have been, never will be. So just to give you a little indication of where I'm at, and with that I do play in club matches when I am fit and not suffering badly, and do play at a competitive level, and again have done that for probably about 10 years. Since I've started playing competitions and the like. So got a decent amount of experience to talk about. For anyone that's seen me play, you will know straight off the bat that as far as Counter-Strike goes, I'm definitely nowhere near one of the best players in the world, but can hold my own. And I think a big reason for that comes down to the self-confidence thing. So I'll start with a few examples, one from sport, one from eSports, and then I'll sort of flesh it out and explain it a little bit. So we'll start with the tennis example. I know for some of you listening, tennis might not be a huge thing in the country that you're in, so I'll keep this one fairly brief. But to give you a really brief overview of it, when you're serving, it's the one shot in tennis where you have complete total control over what happens. And when you're at any kind of level, really professional level or competitive level, people usually have a half decent serve and will usually win more service games than they lose, because they have that element of control. There is nothing else, a dodgy bounce, you know, the way that your opponent hits the ball, moves you around, that sort of thing. There is none of that. So you have complete total control about how the point starts. And something which I find really interesting is so basic scoring for tennis is it would go well, the person that's serving gets the first score, and then the person that's receiving gets the second score. And 40, when you get to 40 and then you got one more point, then you end up winning the game. So if I was saying I'm at love 40 while I'm serving, then basically my opponent is 1 point away from winning the game. So I've found myself in that position a number of times where I'm serving. I'm in the position of control. I should be winning those games probably 8 out of 10 times when I'm on serve, and I've got myself into a bit of a hole. Now normally in that sort of situation you're thinking, right, okay, well, in order just to get it to juice, which is like a tie-break as such, and you have to win 2 straight points to come through and take the game, I've got to get 3 points just to do that. Then from juice I've got to win 2 more consecutive points, so basically I've got to win 5 straight points to be able to win this game, and if I lose just one of those points, well, I've lost the whole game. So unlucky for me. So a lot of people in that situation would think, right, okay, I'm in some serious trouble here. They would get down on themselves and they would think, I'm not going to win this. And more often than not, very true to form, they don't end up winning the thing. But I've dug out so many love 40 situations on serve that now whenever I get in that situation I'm telling myself I'm going to win this game, and more often than not I do end up winning this game. And if I'm playing doubles and I've got a partner with me, normally if you're love 40 when your partner's serving you're thinking, wow, we're in a bit of trouble here. When it's me, as I say, the club's only got 300 people in it. A lot of those are juniors or people that are sort of retired and play at different times. So the amount of people that I end up playing with is actually quite small. It's probably about 50, 60 people that I play with regularly, and a lot of them will know in that situation that I have the ability to dig myself out of it. So it's sort of, even though it's a really difficult situation to be in, not only am I giving myself confidence if it's just me, but I'm also giving a bit of confidence to my partner as well. And this is not just bravado, this is not arrogance, which is different. My serve, when I'm not suffering with shoulder injuries, which is a problem that's plagued me for the last 8 to 10 years or something like that as well, it's probably one of my biggest assets, one of my strongest weapons. So this isn't just thinking, oh yeah, I'll be fine, I'll get out of this. This is me knowing that my serve is my strongest weapon. Yeah, things have happened, I've lost a couple of points on the bounce, but I know that I've got the ability to dig myself out of this. So having that in mind and then thinking to myself positively, I am going to dig myself out of this, that is more often than not what happens in that result. And then let's get away from the sporting example and go on to the eSports example and go on to Counter-Strike. Now, anyone that's seen me play Counter-Strike over the years will know that I am not a particularly strong individual player. And of course Counter-Strike is a team game. It's 5 versus 5 more often than not, unless you're playing some weird little 2v2 thing, but we won't talk about that. So more often than not, you could put me in a 1v1 sort of shootout with any one of the players that I am playing with, and in a one-on-one I will probably lose out to most of the players that I am playing with. More often than not, I am one of the weaker players on the team, and I'll say that in inverted commas. But this is where things get a little bit different, and it's understandable. I play with high sensitivity, which means that I'm not particularly accurate. It's very difficult to be, and as I say, after 10 years of playing on high sensitivity, it's really difficult for me to break the habit. I don't get enough time to play anymore. I haven't got that much interest in going through all that and trying to rebuild my game as such. So forget all that, and there are reasons why, as far as one-on-one, etc., I tend to lose out, and I pretty much have to face that. But there is a difference to it, and I've been doing commentary on and off since 2006. I think I started off doing my first game, and then since then I've jumped in and out of it. I've been out of it more than I've been in, mainly because commentary is a lot of who you know, not what you know. Early on in my career, I didn't particularly make friends with the one company that was sort of leading the charge. So yeah, there are reasons why I'm not out in Germany or the like, employed as a professional commentator, amongst other things. But I have done it for, well, let's see. So 2006, we're in 2014. No, in 2015 now we're in. And I think it was quite early in '06 where I started. So yeah, we're talking 9 years where I've been on and off commentating. And at one point during that time, I was sort of deemed as being one of the best in Europe at it in Counter-Strike. And to get to that point, it's not going to be done on fluke. It takes a lot of knowledge of the game, the map, about, how it's like at the competitive level, how to play in a competition, how to deal with the pressure, how to deal with the pressure of LAN events. And in order for me to be able to deliver the best possible coverage of the game and to try and bring that across to the audience, just how difficult it is to play on a stage with the lights beaming down on you, and they are bloody hot, trust me. For example, to deal with being at an event with several hundred other people in one big room with you, and how loud it is and how hot it can be in the summer, and how it's a really difficult situation to be in. I have to convey all of that. I have to know the maps better than anyone else. I have to know the tactics better than anyone else. I have to sort of anticipate what's going to happen before the audience sees it. And you can't fluke that. You can't blag it. You can't act like you know what you're talking about anymore, because people are so knowledgeable. They've been playing the game for a lot of time. They watch streams, they watch commentaries. So we've got very educated viewers in it, and there is no way that I can pull it off unless I know at least half what I'm talking about, which means I know all the maps like the back of my hand, for example. And then building that into it, yes, okay, fair enough. When we're in a gaming situation, my ability, my aim, my, what I can do to get kills, yes, I may struggle a little bit in those areas. So I have to look, what have I got? What are my assets? Well, there is not going to be anyone in that server of my 4 teammates and my 5 opponents that are going to know the maps and the game as well as I do. I mean, there'll be some that have been playing for a similar length of time that will be on par, you could say, or in the similar kind of region as far as knowledge goes, but there is no one that's going to know it better than I do. So I think that sort of plays in my mind. I think, right, okay, fair enough. Well, there's a chance, yeah, okay, maybe in a 1v1 fight with any one of these guys, they are going to outshoot me, but can I use my knowledge to outthink someone? You might think, okay, yeah, do you play in a certain way? If you don't play Counter-Strike, this isn't going to make a whole lot of sense, but basically it's a bomb, plant and defuse. And a couple of years ago, sort of at the back end of Counter-Strike Source before Global Offensive came out, the fake defuse was so prevalent that it was a stock. You're gonna fake the defuse before you go for it regardless. That is the general rule, and if you're defending the bomb, you are going to wait for that fake defuse knowing it's going to happen, which means, hey, you can go in and you can just sit on that defuse rather than fake it, and in the 5 seconds it takes to defuse, you might be able to get away with that before the other player thinks, what if this guy does things completely different to every single player out there and hasn't fake defused it? By the time they've peaked, the bomb's already diffused, round over, and that's a cheeky little victory for me, for example. And things like that. I mean, there's another thing that I try and think as well is, right, if I was in this situation, how would I expect my opponent to play it? For example, if I'm in a bit of a clutch situation on 1 versus 3, what would they expect me to do? And then I would deliberately try and do something a little bit off the wall, and I might end up coming away and pulling off the situation, the 1 versus 3 clutch, and they might be thinking, oh, that guy's terrible, why has he played it like that, he doesn't know what he's doing, rah rah rah. And really, all I've done is think, right, what are they expecting? I'm going to do something different. It might not work because, again, I'm going against what is perceived to be the right way to go about that particular situation. You would expect, but I thought I'll try something different, see if it works. And again, more often than not, I'm on the right lines. And as the weakest individual player in the team, you can still see me pulling off 3-man, 4-mans, 5-mans, clutch situations, and I'm sitting there, I'm not thinking, oh god, I've got 3 players to kill, I've got to get that bomb defused, I've only got 30 seconds left to do it, I haven't got a chance. I'm thinking, well, this is tough, but if I use my brain, I might be able to pull this one off. And yeah, those are my 2 examples. And now to try and flesh it all out and put this into words. This isn't arrogance. This isn't bravado. This isn't me saying, oh, I'm the best player in this team. I'm the best player in this server. I'm better than all of you. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to win this. Because, yeah, okay, fair enough. Having that level of confidence is great until it starts to get criticised. That's at the point. And I've seen players like this that have got all this bravado about them and say, oh, I'm a brilliant player, etc, etc. When things start going against them, when you lose a couple of rounds on the bounce, or they go for a big pick outside a couple of times and get taken out, that's when the confidence gets really knocked and they start to get negative. That can rub off on teammates. It just ends up being a right mess. The communication goes to pieces, and that one player, I mean, fine, when things are going their way and they're killing things, they'll step out and they'll pretty much charge into the middle of a defended bomb site and end up picking up a couple of kills. And it's brilliant. But when things start to go wrong, that is when you end up getting trouble. And one player like that can really bottleneck your progress as a team, because it's all great and you're smashing teams left, right and centre until you get a team that's better than you. And they will outplay you, they'll outplay that particular player who is arrogant and relies on this excessive amount of confidence, but they just won't have enough to back that up, which is why you have to be realistic. And for me, as I said, something that came to my head yesterday, I play very rarely these days. I'll sometimes jump on and I'll get to play a game or 2 every couple of weeks. That's pretty much how things go these days. And yeah, I jumped in to a matchmaking game with a bunch of randoms, didn't know anyone, and ended up winning the thing. And I don't think I top fragged because there was this guy going absolutely crazy with the AWP, but I was sort of second in the team and put in a very good solid performance, locked down my sight, that kind of thing, and it ended up being quite a comfortable win. Now, anyone will tell you, if you don't play for 3-4 days, then you end up getting pretty rusty as far as your ability goes, and if you leave it weeks, well, you're pretty much in trouble. So for me, I never get warmed up, I never get in a rhythm, I never end up sort of playing at my best. But still, I can jump in, whether it's with randoms or with some friends, and I can go and I can do a job and I can play a role, because I've played that role, I've played every position on every map. We're probably talking 3 figures for every time I've played every position on every map, for an example. So I know what I'm doing in that situation, and if I'm not quite sure, I can just call on the knowledge of someone in a much better team that's played that position and kind of try and do things the same way. Which is, well, they'll probably shoot 10 million times better than me, so it's got its own issues, but I've got that experience to call on. And it's not arrogant as such, because I will quite happily admit, yes, I am probably not the best player in here. In fact, I'm usually far from it. But when you look at what happens on the scoreboard and contributions to the team effort and contributions to winning the game, etc., I'm probably right up there. Simply because I have the knowledge to back it up, and I believe that I can apply that. Same with the tennis example. Yes, I can dig myself out of nasty situations with my serve, and I believe I can, but that's only because I've got that ability to begin with. So my advice to you guys is, say you are just starting out in a game, you're not one of the best players out there at all. Maybe you never will be, but be realistic, be honest with yourself, and you can say to yourself, right, okay, yeah, fair enough. I'm not strong in this area, this area, this area, but let's forget about that. Don't let that put you down. Don't keep that in the back of your mind saying, oh, I don't want to get into a 1v1 situation with anyone really, because I'll probably end up losing, because then that's not really what you're looking to do. But you need to keep that in the back of your mind as you sort of develop your strategy and look at where your strengths are. So if you play Counter-Strike, for example, and you're a terrible entry fragger, but you know a couple of half-decent flashes to help you get into a site, throw flashbangs, be a good support player, and then you can come in, let the better players get the entry picks, and then you can help mop up. You can throw in a useful smoke, or you can cover a good angle, or something along that line. So make sure that you're not the first one in, because that's not going to help. One, you're going to go down. Two, you're going to slow the rest of your team up getting into the site, and yeah, you're not going to get that entry kill that you need for things to be successful. If you play League of Legends or Dota, maybe you're not great at the game in general, but you can play one character really well. Well, yeah, you're going to need to spend time experimenting with the other sort of characters, the other heroes, and get used to playing with them, just so that you become a better, well-rounded player. But you can do that against bots or whatever in your own time. If you've got one player that you can play really well and help your team with, then use that character, by all means. And then suddenly you're not, oh, this guy's terrible, you're a noob, you're awful, you're feeding, all that stuff. You're actually, contributing something to a team effort, which is brilliant. Again, if you're into your sport, and also I like to play football. I play football once a week. I am, again, one of the weakest footballers in the group of about 15 that rotate in, but I've got things that I am good at, so I will try and make sure that I am working to those strengths, and if I'm doing that, then I can have a good game and I can contribute to the team effort. And then, yeah, I have my weaknesses, but chances are I can outweigh those with the positives. And as people get to know you and as you build yourself into a team, they'll start to figure out what your weaknesses are, and they'll try and cover those and protect you to make sure that you don't end up in that situation too often. And you might find that your strength means that as you grow and you learn more about the game and your teammates, you can use your strengths to cover up their weaknesses in certain areas. That might apply, and then from that point you are growing and you are building as a team, and you are becoming a good teammate and very effective. So just a couple of things to think about, and you have to be realistic. You have to sit down and say, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. I'm going to play to my strengths. I'm going to try and avoid my weaknesses as much as possible, and I'm going to believe in myself and believe that my strengths can shine through in any kind of situation. And yeah, when it doesn't quite happen, and when nothing is going your way, regardless of whether you're playing to your strengths or not, hey, don't let that put you down. Just say, yeah, that wasn't my game, my bad, move on and get on with the next one. Blind arrogance will not get you very far. It's great for a while, but remember, whatever happens, whatever level you get to, however good you are, there is always going to be someone better. And those sorts of people will find their confidence knocked massively when they come across those better players. And in doing that, you can end up dismantling a whole team of 5 if you let things like that knock you. So have self-confidence. Don't have arrogance. Don't be overconfident. And if you can get that formula right, you will find going forward that your playing will improve immeasurably just by having a bit of belief in what you can do well. Maybe you can't do all that much well. Maybe your strengths are building up money so you can drop guns to the better players. Well, that's not ideal, to be honest. That just makes you a money mule. But if that's all you got to begin with, then work with that for the time being. If you're sticking an AWP in someone's hand more often than if you weren't in the game, then, well, I guess you got to go with it, and then just keep working hard to get something that's a little more useful going forward. And yeah, I guess that's another thing as well, is if you've got that and you feel like you're contributing and you're doing something useful, that might inspire you to spend more time in it, to practice more, to spend more time in deathmatch and try and improve, or play against bots in your own time if you are talking about a League of Legends or a Dota or that sort of thing. It might be the catalyst that you need to start stepping up to the next level. If you're at that point of thinking, is it worth me spending my time on this, or should I move on and play something else, or take up knitting or whatever. I'm rambling a little bit too much now, but yeah, if you've got any feedback on this, then please put the comments in the section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because there is lots of good stuff and actual gaming videos amongst a number of games which you can watch if you are interested. But that's it for now, and catch you next time. Thank you very much.